So I moved my setup around. I hope it doesn't mess up the Zoom recording today. It shouldn't, but you know, I hope it doesn't. But anyways, how's everybody doing today? Did I get a new mic? No. Why? I mean, I'm literally in front of my mic. That's why. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me stand back a little bit. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I have an L-shaped desk, right? So I used to have the mic. I have the mic on the short side, and the mic stretches out into the middle of the desk, and my ultra wide used to be on the right side of the desk, but now I moved it to the left, so I'm speaking literally directly to the mic. Yeah, so let me move it around. I can try to find like maybe a good fixed position and just leave it there for every zoom. What about that? Is that cool? How do you guys feel about that? Right there. Okay, cool. Yeah, my bad. Oh shit. Yeah, my bad. Let me see. Yeah, let's go ahead and started. Cool. Hope everybody's doing all right. Mic should be good. Let's see. Starting off from DXY. I'm actually going to just take this one right out of the way. I was looking at this every 2 days and just look at what this did this week. So nothing has changed yet. Just because this week we pretty much, AU had a range of about what, 100 pips. Just annoying. Nothing really happened in between that. So there's nothing to discuss there. But with DXY, we had mentioned if we could, pretty much recover into our point of interest. But I didn't expect, actually, I'm going to go to H1. I didn't expect for price to just immediately, after the pullback, drop down into our liquidity and then immediately go up. Because now, realistically, even if this is still here a valid POI, which it very well can be because we're getting a decent reaction internally, as you can see, we would definitely need to break our POI here in order for that to be a confirmed reaction there. But what I don't like to see, you guys, I know I brought this up before with pretty much waiting for a POI and having the reaction occur before you hit the POI, then the POI hits and you potentially get a loss. Like basically from here, I would have wanted this to come into here and then go for liquidity, because that provides an if this then that scenario. Whereas now we have essentially the reaction occurring, taking liquidity, and now we have an internal liquidity grab, meaning that we are short term. Ooh, that's a nasty triangle. That we are short term bullish, right? So now when I'm trying to derive a bias, right, I'm going to be less focused on trying to take that POI, because there is still a daily POI, and I don't like to take trades based off scenarios once the reaction has already occurred, because my target has already been met. So for all we know, that's just a liquidity grab, and that's pretty much going to be the sign that bullish momentum is going to continue higher, maybe. And because you guys know that our bias is still bullish, it's just now based on the reaction that we had occurred, we had only assumed the bullish narrative because of the internal liquidity grab and the potential target being the set of liquidity here. So once that has been met, the bias is now canceled. It's kind of invalidated. So I'd more so now wait probably a day or two just to see how we're going to move and see if I can get some type of model in play. Maybe I can get some type of structural disruption, which would generate obviously a very, very good trade in terms of RR. But yeah, pretty boring week if I'm being honest. Pretty boring week. All we did with EU this week was pretty much just that recovery that we had mentioned on Tuesday. Just because, let me check the calendar. Tuesday was the 29th. Yeah, so pretty much based on the 29th, right, we were looking for, let me zoom in too, right, we were basically looking for the reaction here to reach a bit deeper, which didn't happen. And you know, we have, I was looking at a certain Asia and we saw some pretty nice structure breaks here. Just internal structure breaks, right? But this wasn't necessarily me trying to look at the momentum and sell, because that is 100% counter trend. But I would have wanted a bit deeper, and now that we are a bit deeper, I'm not really too concerned or really too attentive with this bullish bias, just because now we have seen that liquidity grab, right? Whereas we're here, we basically had equal highs there, right? We had our liquidity be taken. Our original direction is bearish. We're taking a long time for this correction, so it's all favoring towards that downside. So I don't necessarily want to see this as low into high into retracement. I want to see this as high into low, right, into continuation BOS, which is the beginning of the retracement. So we know that the retracement is bullish, right? But we now have a bearish liquidity grab based on the original bearish narrative. So who's to say we can't come back into the solidified point, come into that and continue lower? That's more so what I would be more attracted to, just because that follows the liquidity that's being taken and it follows the original direction dictated. And we would obviously be aiming for liquidity, right? Because if we get our reaction and we get our follow through and this initial intraday target is met, I'm not really trying to buy here unless we get a bullish transition, because if it reaches there, then we know that we are bearish internally. So we would need, right, that bullish scalp transition for that to be a valid bullish scenario. But as of now, right, if we were to zoom out just a tad bit, right, and we were to eliminate all of these lines from a raw perspective, we are bearish, and we have a bearish flag potentially forming, right? And that's just me trying to measure momentum to see where we could measure the next potential impulse. But yeah, honestly, it sucks because that's literally all that happened this week. So there's really not much to cover, right? Because as you can see, our price has been super choppy over the past couple of days, since, yeah, pretty much since yesterday. Been super choppy. And here was a bit hard to find a scenario. But with that being said, I'd be more so open to hearing what you guys have to say today than trying to, you know, see if there's any trades in here, which either way I wouldn't have taken. All right, does anybody have any studies for today? Cool. Yeah, it's a pretty boring week, if I'm being honest. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's go over Nico's first, and then we'll go over yours. Send all the screenshots. Tell me when you're done sending them, so then I'll load them up. You're looking for the entry. Okay, sorry. Okay, cool. So I like this because he actually, so this is like something that you guys should all do. So he said, I want to see how you're looking before the entry. So what he's trying to tell me is I want you to see how, he wants me to critique how he sees his bias before he shows me the entry part, which is something almost nobody shows me in either Zooms nor journals. Journals I rarely see see anything above like H1, H4. I never see what a daily bias is, weekly bias is, blah blah, which is okay depending on the type of trades that you're looking for, but it's just cool for you guys to take note from this. Okay, so number one thing I am acknowledging based on this picture is we are within, right, a daily 2-day, right, inefficiency, and there is still the potential of a 2-day wick fill. Now let me go to the next one. Okay. So we understand that we are bearish, right? But I do understand that you have a model in place. And I do understand unwillingness. That would be unwillingness, but that would be internal unwillingness, not external unwillingness. External unwillingness would probably be when your external structure points are being taken out. But yeah, I would probably do the entry based on inefficiency, and my invalidation would obviously be down there. So it's about a 6 pip stop, which is pretty big for EU, but you're looking at also potentially obviously coming back up here, which is 76. It's about a 30 pip TP, which is about a 1-to-5, but based on your current entry, it looks like it's about what, 4 pips, 3 pips. But just make sure that you're being aware of your invalidation there. So the only things that I'm pointing out, one is point out your invalidation, which I'm pretty sure you did. 2, I like that you have a model in place. And 3, it is counter trend based on this time frame, but this coincides with this. So yeah, it's a good entry. So let's see how how did this result? What was the result of this trade? I don't know where exactly this is in price, but what happened afterwards? Now, what is the management part? Because even if you have a model, you still have to also acknowledge, right, that low retracement, there is still that. So I don't know if this reacted from a POI, but it's also important to note this here. I think it was here. Kind of, sort of. Oh, it was now? Okay, it was today. Let's actually look into that then. Let me delete this. Okay, so that was about an hour ago, you said. $42. Okay. So it was about here. So let's look at this from 2 perspectives. One, the bullish scenario potentially in play, which is based on model, but it is technically counter trend within the current, what is that? My one for after is here. Okay, so number one bias is the bullish scenario that you're trying to portray, but at the end of the day, like I said, we are still bearish. So you have to consider both scenarios. And let me see, this is a bit annoying, hold on. I'm gonna move this over here. Okay. So the issue with trying to trade here is 100% because this is bearish. And let's also consider what I just talked about 5 minutes ago with why this could still be bearish and why I showed you guys why this can still be a case there. Right, so that is my bias. I am still bearish on it. So I probably wouldn't have bought where you have bought, even if you had, that's, you know, it's 100% your bias. I can't go against that. But me personally, you know, just based on what I said in the call, I was bearish. So in order for me to assume anything otherwise, especially during session today, if I'm going to assume a bullish scenario, I'm sorry. All right, one is extremely tough because you already had a structural disruption in play. On top of that, higher low. We had internal liquidity grab here, which is why you came back for the mitigation there. And that dictates a bearish narrative. So when you're trying to essentially buy, which is where around, I keep losing my spot where that is. This is annoying, hold on. 42. It's here. So when I'm trying to buy here, it doesn't really make sense because I just explained the bias, 1. 2, I just explained the structural disruption from London here, or from Asia session, I'm sorry. 2 and 3, in London, you just had a bearish liquidity grab. So what exactly is making you be bullish here? I want to know what exactly is making you want to buy here outside of this, because you can't solely go off a daily time frame. So I understand there's a POI. I understand you see an M1 entry, but what about your minor major intraday? Yeah, bro, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. You got your swing bias and you have a scalp entry. So what about your minor intraday and major intraday? Because you do understand that your dailies, your daily candles, your daily, just everything daily is formed based on your major intraday, and your major intraday is completely composed of minor intraday, and obviously the scalp is composed of that. And you can say that you have a scalp entry, but we've already talked about how the security of something decreases the lower in time frame you go, right? Which is why, you know, higher time frame is key. That's where that comes from. So what exactly is making you be bullish? Because this, right, you can point out a potential inefficiency there, but let's also look at it here. Where is the original direction? Bearish. Cool. So if I am bearish, right, I get the pullback. Why should I buy here? And then we wonder why SLs hit, like, you know? Because this is what you're doing here. So you should realistically be looking at rejection, target, because of original direction. So I see what you're seeing with your bullish bias, but you're not considering original direction, you're not considering major intraday, you're not considering minor intraday. So if you consider that, we can go back to the chart now. Right, if you consider that, if you consider the whole continuation thing, then you would more so be wanting to sell here, or you would read this, right, as a liquidity grab. And now whether you want to trade here or here, you would be bearish, but at least you're getting a reaction, right? This is a 15 pip reaction, which is currently at 10 pips, but that did expand to 23, right? Whereas the second entry, potential entries here, no matter what mitigation you took, that's already 17 pips. Whereas if you're trying to take the bullish scenario, you went 6 pips in a profit because you're counter trending. Whereas if you because you were also, you're about 5 pips in drawdown as well. So you're about 5 pips in drawdown, you only go 6 pips in profit, and then you go straight into SL. Why? Because you're picking lows. Simple as that. So don't see this as a liquidity grab, see it as a continuation BOS. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, with this one, I would say you're acknowledging POIs right, but you're getting the direction wrong. So I would say focus on getting the direction right and then try to look for an entry. Because if you can't get the direction right, you're just not going to win a trade, period. Like, I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. So yeah, focus on getting your direction right. Now let's go to the second one. Chart number 1. Okay. Cool. So what you're telling me is, based on this, right, obviously we have a high being taken, and there's obviously been some type of preliminary structure be taken here. So there's potentially a bearish narrative, but that is only confirmed here when you have low momentum, right? And then you have your break, your internal break, right? So now you're building a case based on the mitigation of that. So that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me, just because there is a transition in play, even though you are still bullish. But let me see. Let's keep going. Okay. Something I don't like to see personally here is there's some type of structure there. So that could be a confirmed reaction going into structural disruption. But because that thing came back into testing a low, that could signify a bearish movement. But let's keep zooming in. Okay, so next time you send me charts, I'm gonna need you to make some acronyms for this: BOS, LT, BE, EL, preliminary, and if I need, like, obviously if I need you to clarify on some, but yeah, but too many words on here. This is making it super messy because it's kind of hard to see what you're seeing. So let me see. I can't. It's hard to interpret what you're seeing here. So where is this? I'm moving this over here. Okay, so we are looking at this, right? This is a confirmed reaction, meaning this was a confirmed reaction. So it's hard to anticipate a move unless you get a bearish transition, because up until here, once we get the reaction, that is technically bullish. So even here, I probably wouldn't have traded this. I would have more so waited for this to fail, because that's structural disruption, and you would get the mitigation in play, or you would obviously get this with the invalidation being up here. But just trading this, I would definitely say you're probably trading a high. That would be more than likely what I would be saying, that you're trying to trade the beginning of the pullback. And as you can see, that's kind of what you did. But the only reason why it obviously played out was because it failed, which is something you can't tell at the time. Yeah, so I would say you're definitely picking a high there, even if it's a correct entry, just for future reference. And it's really hard to see this. So let's see. So yeah, there is a liquidity grab there. That would have been your continuation BOS, looking for the pullback. And let me see. So I'm trying to, so you enter your trade here, but I don't understand why your SL is there. I don't understand why this SL is here. Okay, so it was at the invalidation, then you reduced it. So when you reduce it, I would usually, for example, if your entry is here, we come into the high, and obviously we create a new low, my new invalidation would be here, which means you're pretty much splitting your risk in half. Because if we break that, then I know that we're no longer bearish. So then, as you can see, we have this high coming into new low. That would probably be the new invalidation, right? Especially because this is an internal liquidity wrap, even if this is a 30-second time frame, but this is a very quick move. So I would probably put my SL above there. Up until, right, we see a move like this, that's when I'm 100% break even. I'd probably even move my SL to like this high here. Well, I would only do it in this scenario because you're picking a high. Technically, just internally from a scalp perspective, you are picking a high, even if your bias is derived from the top, right? Whereas this is aggressive, conservative. Because all you did was begin to catch the flag pattern that was beginning to form. That's what you caught. But like I said, this, you cannot make the judgment for this immediately until after it happens. Yeah. So I would only say, so I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with this, but I would like to see what's over here. I can't see what's over here, just to see if we were already coming down or if we were coming up. Yeah, send the chart for the left of this, so I can then see how you pretty much formulated that. But yeah, definitely you're fighting momentum. There's definitely a flag here. Let me see. Okay, yeah. Let me see, turning colors. So you're obviously bearish. Right here, you have a liquidity grab, and okay, I do see why you're seeing that. I do see why you're seeing that overall. So the only thing I would say is, if this is okay, if you're wishing to be a aggressive trader, but where's the other picture? But this would have been what I would have waited for. Because this shows narrative, this shows conservative entry. But I'm not gonna go ahead and tell you that this is wrong. I just say I probably wouldn't do it, you know, based on how I would go about it. But yeah, I mean, either way, your target was met, which is fine. Target was met. It was based on what you think is your model, which is 100% okay. And let me look at the last chart again. Yeah, it looked like pretty solid scenario. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Any trades this week for it? Nah, not really, bro. Nothing intriguing. Look at this here. Look at this here. And there's literally nothing I could have traded that would have made sense for me. Probably every New York to say from today, you know, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday. No true scenarios. And as a result, we get probably like a weird weekly. Yeah, rejective kind of weekly. So that could be dictating a narrative for next week. Yeah, we do have, actually you're right, we actually finally did have that quarter closure today. I mean yesterday, I'm sorry. Still looking a bit bearish, maybe, just off this closure alone. Off of last month's closure, I would say it looks a bit rejective, but a bit too bearish for my liking. From a weekly, I would say that looks a bit bearish. So I would more so assume a bearish bias for today. I mean, for pretty much the next month. But yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, we can go ahead and wrap it up here today. Yeah, man, for sure. If you guys send me your journals like right now, I could probably get them done within the next 2 hours. Just FYI for everybody on the call. If you guys have anything to send me, just go ahead and send it right now, and I'll probably do it while I'm eating lunch. But yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Hope you guys have a great weekend.